morning and I wanted to spend some time in my front yard garden and show you some of the new plants that have been added, a little bit of a design change as well in this front border. And it's always nice to see the garden evolve as you are growing with it. It's growing with you and you're learning and adapting what you want to do with the garden space. So my name is Preeti. I garden in Zone 6 in Toronto, and I take care of this, or I have the privilege of taking care of this beautiful cottage style garden which I have developed over the last few years. And I try to post about all things gardening, what I'm doing in my garden. And lately I've been planting a lot of things in a little bit of I should say in my own time and space, and I haven't really videoed things that I have planted, but I do like to share with you what I have planted so that you get ideas of what I'm doing and the different plants that I'm adding. So this area here, I really wanted it to stand out, be colorful, be visible from a distance, and really be rich in pollen source for a lot of the pollinators. And I think it's doing just that. It's slowly evolving into this beautiful colorful zone that I love looking at. A lot of neighbors walk by and they love looking at it as well. And I just wanted to share with you some of these new plants that I added here. So what I did recently was, this bed was only up till where this Royal Candles Veronica is. So this is the Royal Candle Veronica. So the bed kind of ended in this fashion here. And what I did was I actually extended it, I think about maybe two and a half feet going this way, all the way onto this sidewalk here. This was all covered in weedy mess and grass and weedy mess. So I kind of pulled it out. Similar to what I did on the other side, and I took you along for that one. But this here made such a huge difference because it allowed me to pull some of the plants that were in these pockets inside and not really visible out, and also add in some new perennials to this area. And I'm really enjoying that process. So the very first thing I did was I moved this coreopsis. So this is a really old variety of coreopsis that I have. I don't remember the name, but I moved this. It was kind of buried underneath this Kodiak deer villa. This is a deer villa shrub. It's done blooming now, so I kind of gave it a bit of a trim and I removed some of its branching, but I moved this coreopsis more towards the front. And this salvia was already here. This is a crystal blue salvia, and what I added was this really beautiful heucherella. So this is a beautiful heucherella called Copper King. As you can see, it has these beautiful coppery foliage, and a heucherella is a mix between a tiarella and a heuchera. So it's got the best of both, and this one particularly will bloom with these really nice foamy white blooms in the spring. So it's done blooming right now, but I love this foliage, and I really bought this because this foliage is really beautiful, and it really enjoys part shade to shadier condition. So I've added this in a little bit of a more sun, but I think it can tolerate that quite easily, and we'll see. I'll keep an eye on it if it doesn't thrive in this area, and I think it's going to eventually get shaded by this deer villa and other plants. So it's going to be nice tucked into this little pocket here and do well. And if it doesn't, I will move it to a more shadier spot. But I love it here. It's adding a lot of color and beautiful texture and leaves to this spot. So just behind this, I've added a couple of plants of sneezeweed. So sneezeweed is also called helenium. I've not seen too many of these plants out there, but when I saw these, I snagged them. These are the beautiful variety called autumnal. So I feel like it's blooming a little bit ahead of schedule. It's supposed to bloom in August and September into fall, and this one, because it's nursery grown, it is blooming a lot sooner, which is fine with me. I'll enjoy it a little bit sooner in this garden, but I've tucked it behind some of the other perennials. I've tucked it behind and I love how this looks. I love how it has these rich deep burgundy and red and a little bit of yellow in it as well. I love the little tiny delicate flowers on it, and it's just a really beautiful cheerful flower. And I think it gets about 2 to 3 feet tall. I don't know yet how it's going to do in my garden, so we'll see. This is my very first experience with it, and I feel it's going to be like Rudbeckias or other those types of blooms, that it's going to need the deadheading, as well as it's going to continuously keep blooming once it starts. So I love it here, and it's looking really, really nice in this spot. The other thing I added were 2 of these beautiful blanket flowers. So this red one, I had this one already. It was tucked in way in there, covered by grass, barely being visible, so I kind of moved it here, and I bought a couple of other friends to go along with it. This is a beautiful color. I love how it stands out, and there are many varieties of blanket flowers, and I don't remember what this one is called, but it has the name Sun something attached to it. But these were fairly inexpensive. I bought really small pots and tucked them in, and they're already growing and doing really, really well. This here is a carex that I added here just to add a little bit of this grassy texture, tucked in, just something simple. Was a clearance plant, and it's looking really nice in this spot. I love how it spills over the rocks, and I love how this looks. I also added a couple of clearance creeping phlox. They didn't have any tags on them, but just foliage. I think they were $1 each, and I'll see how these do. I've added them here, and hopefully they'll spill and kind of offer a little bit of this ground cover, and they'll bloom next spring, early spring, and we'll see what colors they are. The other thing I added were these beautiful scabiosa. This is Farmer Blue, deep Farmer Blue scabiosa. Love it. I love the size of these. I do have a smaller size in the back there, but I love the big blooms on these. So I added 3 of these in this area just because I love the color, and I love how it contrasts with all of the reds and the rich colors. I feel blue is a really beautiful complementary color to all of these rich colors. So I added 3 of them. There's one there. There is one other one here. Look how beautiful it looks against the red. And then I also have another one over here. It's just leaning over a little bit, but you know, they are just getting established. They are beautiful, just a beautiful, stunning, little bit of a taller variety of scabiosa. Here is an annual salvia that I added. I had a little plant sitting around, so it's doing really well, and it should color up and give the same purple color for a while. So in the back I have royal candles, Veronica. This was here. I haven't moved it. I just need to come in, deadhead it, remove the old spent blooms, but it's still looking good. It still has a little bit of bloom left on it, so when it's done blooming, I'm going to cut it back. The other plant that I added was a little bit more of achillea. I love yarrow, which is also called achillea in the garden. So this one is Sassy Summer achillea. Love how it's got these peach, yellow, pink, all, you know, multiple colors in one. I added 3 of these plants. There's one there, there's one here, and there is one here. It is absolutely beautiful. Love the colors on this yarrow, and a yarrow is such a fantastic, drought tolerant, beautiful plant for your pollinator garden. It's just absolutely stunning. So those are the 3 that I added. The rest of the plants were already here. This is a beautiful phlox. It's a variegated phlox in the back there, and it hasn't bloomed yet. It's going to bloom, but I just love it even without all the blooms. I love how it adds this focal point and illumination to this garden. And then what I added was a bunch of agastache. So this is the little adder agastache. It's blooming beautifully. Love agastache. Pollinators love it, and there are so many different varieties of agastache, and this one is absolutely gorgeous. I also added another variety here called Blue Boa. So this is a much larger agastache. It has very thick stems and thick blooms, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So right behind it there is also the Adobe orange coneflower. So this is a newer coneflower that I added. This coneflower, this is a red one. I think it's a sombrero red. This is the one I already had in the back, tucked in the back there, so I brought it in the front a bit, and it's looking really, really nice against this orange. There is also another Copper King, here is the Copper King Heucherella that's also added here. And I also had a Buxter Blue butterfly bush tucked in my butterfly garden in the side yard, and I brought it over here because it was barely being visible. It was tucked into behind some other plants, and I didn't like how it was looking there, so I moved it in the front, and I'm hoping that it picks up and it has, again, carries that blue color more towards the front. So that is a lot of the change that I've done to this garden. I've also added this beautiful dark leaf geranium. I think this one is called Dark Twader or something like that, and it's a beautiful dark colored leaf geranium, and it has beautiful purple blooms. So again, it will carry that purple color of the Scabiosa and the other perennials right in front here. And then this is a Trollius. It's also called the globe flower. I love how it is kind of adding this punch of yellow to this bed, and I love how that looks. And then I also have a couple of new roses in here. This one is South Africa. This is a Cordes rose. It's a Sunbelt South Africa. Has beautiful yellow blooms. It's not blooming right now because I recently planted it and I cut off all the blooms, so it's just getting established, but I love it. It's going to be a nice rose in here. And I also have a beautiful another rose here, which is called Hot Cocoa. It has beautiful, again, those smoky red, brick red blooms with a tinge of brown in it, and I think it's gonna pick up all of these colors just beautifully. And in the back here I have a quickfire hydrangea, which you can see it's been here, and it's kind of looking really, really beautiful as a backdrop to all this. And bunch of daylilies, they were all tucked in there, which I've brought in the front here. Here's one already blooming, looking gorgeous. So these are all the lilies I already had, so I've just moved stuff around, and it's looking really, really beautiful. I love how it has kind of brought a lot of this forward. I also added a Whisper Blue Catmint here. I added a couple of them because I had some clearance plants that I had snagged, and I was looking for an opportunity to plant them, so I've added a couple here. And I've added a little bit of lamb's ear here because I divided one of my plants, and this is Helen Weinstein lamb's ear, so I'm hoping it kind of takes over and does its thing here. And I also had these false cypress kind of dwarfs false cypress shrubs, which were also tucked in somewhere in this bed, not really being visible, so I brought them out to add some evergreen texture and color in here. And then finally I do have some wildfire sedums that I added here, along with some so these have this beautiful variegated foliage, and it's going to bloom a beautiful pink color in late summer into fall. And then I have these pelargoniums planted here. These are just red pelargoniums, annuals, and just adding that pop of color in this bed. Oh, and another heuchera that I added here, this one is called Peach Flame, has this beautiful bright colored foliage, and it, I think, looks really nice with all of the reds and blues, as well as that beautiful Copper King Heucherella. So yeah, and that's everything that was added here. Ooh, I have one more plant that I added. This is Plum Dazzled Sedum. It's got beautiful plum foliage. I feel like it's just gonna peek through and fill this area and bloom these beautiful bright pink flowers later on in the season. So yeah, these are all the design updates to this little area of my front garden. It is on the right side and towards the road, and quite visible to a lot of people walking by. And I think it's a beautiful cheerful spot, and I love how this has come together. So I wanted to bring you along and share with you some of the new plants that I added here and how this design is come forward, and wanted to show you and give you some ideas for your own garden as well. So thanks so much for joining me today and coming along with me and watching this video, and do give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it and if you've found this valuable and got some ideas from it. And also let me know in comments below, what do you think about the plants? Do you have them in your garden? And are you also thinking about your garden in a different way? And I actually worked on this a week ago, and it's been raining since, and the plants have adjusted and they're doing really, really well in this spot. So thanks again for watching, and I will catch you very soon in my next video.